Welcome to Unf Your Finances with Nicholas St. George from St. George Wealth Management. This is the podcast where we help busy professionals navigate the complexities of their finances, making the most out of their hard-earned money. We don't F around and find out. We plan for the unexpected by breaking down complex topics with humor, honesty, and stories. Join us on this journey where we explore the real truth about finance, empowering you to understand and manage your money better. Nicholas draws from years of expertise and invites guest experts to solve your financial challenges and help you stay on track for retirement.
Hey, I'm Nick St. George, certified financial planner. And what if I told you the year that you pay the absolute least in taxes would end up causing you the biggest tax bill tomorrow? Now, I don't like paying Club Fed just as much as the next person does not like writing that check to the IRS. By the end of the day, taxes are part of life. Just because you want to minimize today, you forget about tomorrow. Think about it this way. If you squeeze a balloon and you pinch it down on one end, the air gets small on one side, the air doesn't leave the balloon. The balloon just gets bigger on the back end. That's what I'm seeing with a lot of clients these days. People for the last 5-10 years, hey, let's take a little money out. Let's take a little money out. And eventually now it's RMD time. Now it's their Social Security is kicking in. And now they're getting more income than they ever have seen in their entire lives. Not a bad problem to have, but they're now suddenly in a tax bracket they didn't think was possible. So when people file taxes, it comes every year in April. Most people think taxes 1 year at a time. What do I owe? How do I keep it down this year? Can I avoid taking money out of the IRA or anything like that? How can we hide for taxes? And I get it. I don't like writing a check to the IRS or the state of North Carolina. Nobody likes that. But when you get into retirement, you're starting to, the runway's getting shorter and shorter. Requirement of distributions and penalties and Social Security. There's so many moving parts. It's not as easy as your little spreadsheet. And trust me, I've dealt with a lot of clients that have built their own spreadsheets, and all 48 columns and 72 rows make a lot of sense to them, but they don't really all talk to each other. They're truly little silos on each one. But instead of optimizing for just one tax year return, you got to think about it as like a 10-year cycle. Do you really want to save a couple $100 now to pay a couple $1,000 later? Which side of that do you want? And I get it. Each year, keep it minimal, but let's take a step back. Tax filing in April isn't the only time you need to be looking at it. So like I said, that cheapest tax bill might be great in April. Hey, maybe you get a return. Oh, let's go on vacation, use that return money, whatever it may be. You have to focus on the total picture. And this isn't about paying more tax. It's about paying tax on your terms instead of the IRS terms. So don't manage it 1 year line. Manage that 1 decade at a time. Take that big step back. Look at the big picture of everything going on. Now, let's take a quick little time out here. Let's go through some of the definitions, because finance and financial services as a whole love their acronyms. They love throwing different letters and word soup out at you. RMD, required minimum distribution. It used to be 7.5. Currently, it's at age 73. It's slated to go up to almost age 75 as time moves on. Life expectancy is going higher. The government's giving you some time. But at the end of the time, the government has let your IRA, 401k, 403b grow tax deferred without forcing any withdrawals. When you hit age 73, they are now saying you have to take money out. It's a required minimum. You can take more, but you can't take less. And at the end of the day, it's grown tax deferred all these years. Club Fed and the IRS wants their piece of the pie. That's what a minimum distribution is. It's generating tax revenue. It's every dollar out of an IRA or 401k or 403b or whatever pre-tax account you're talking about is taxed as ordinary income, dollar for dollar. So there's no losses. Oh, I'm down in my IRA. That doesn't fly. And it's all based on the age table. Now, if you're a married couple more than 15 years apart, there's a separate table. But a reasonable number just in the back of your head, if you're doing back to the napkin math, think about roughly 4% of your balance is that first one. It goes up a little bit each year. Inherited ones, there's all little nuances, but the IRS does not care if you need that money or not. They're trying to generate revenue, tax revenue. So remember, a traditional IRA or your 401k is not tax-free. It is tax deferred. Big difference. Like, think about it. People talk about Roth grow all along, and it's tax-free withdrawals on the growth, as long as it's been 5 years and all the other fine print. 401k, traditional IRA, that sort of thing, pre-tax. not no tax, pre-tax. They're going to get their piece of the pie somehow, some way. All right. So just remember, you're not eliminating it. And the other thing we're going to talk about, especially for my retirees or near retirees, is IRMAA. We're not talking about hurricanes. It is income-related monthly adjustment amount. At the end of the day, Club Fed and Medicare premiums give you a surcharge if your income climbs above certain income levels. It's a 2-year look back. So you may do it this year and you don't notice anything weird, but it's 2026. In 2028, they look at your 2026 tax returns like, oh, you had too much money. You now have a surcharge. So think about that. Those big income years. Now we're running into the RMDs. You already have Social Security. You might have a pension, dividend income. What if you have a rental property, part-time consulting? You have income coming in from so many different places, and suddenly you're up a tax bracket or two. So that's why buzzwords of late right now. Roth conversions, love them. You can't do it all at once, right? Like it's usually more of a piecemeal. It's a several-year plan. RMDs can trigger IRMAA. Capital gains can trigger IRMAA. Selling rental property can trigger IRMAA. Income can trigger IRMAA. Say it with me now. Just shout it from the back. So IRMAA, it's an acronym. You're like, what does that mean? At the end of the day, it is a income adjustment. Your Medicare is more expensive because you have more income. That's just kind of how our tax system and government system work. But if you hear RMD, required minimum distribution, currently rule at the year you turn 73, you got to take out a minimum amount. IRMAA, income-related monthly adjustment amount. Who says you don't learn something new every day? You're welcome. Now, jumping back into kind of these tax bonds, everything else like that. I'm running into clients building their own spreadsheets. Love it. Want you to be informed, want you to be part of the conversation. But most spreadsheets do not play nice with every part. They'll put their Social Security income in one line. They'll put what their spending is, what their debts are, not really adjusting for inflation. At the end of the day, they're kind of forgetting about that. Inflation is that silent killer. Think about it. Think about what life is. So there was no rolling around, and these are broad numbers, so don't hold me down to the dollar amount. But a happy, well-off middle-class family in the 90s, that family was earning about $125,000. Today, to live like the good life, right? We joke about Home Alone and the McAllisters. How do you take 15 people to Paris? Like, what does that guy do? Did they move bricks for El Chapo? Like, come on, that's a pretty big number. So 90s, upper middle class, that 125. Today's dollars, you're looking at 325 to 400, depending on what part of the country you're in. That's inflation. That is a massive number of an increase. And if you think that's changing over the next 20 years of your retirement, I know which side I'd be betting on, right? Inflation is that silent killer. Gas costs more. Groceries cost more. There's a pizza place here in town. Love their pizza. Antipasto. It used to be like $20, $22. It's now like $38. And that's just in 4 years. A retirement plan, when people talk about this at the end of the day, like, oh, I only need $8,000 a year today. Great. We can do that. We're going to do Social Security. What does that $8,000 look like 20 years from now? Do you have enough money that will grow ahead of inflation that you can buy the same stuff? So inflation is like this mythical thing, but think of it this way. If you go to the grocery store today and your weekly groceries are $100, which, let's be honest, with family of four, you're looking at like $400, but there's $100 today, it's going to be almost $200 in 10, 15 years. How does your income grow to close that gap? You throw it all in a bank account, making 3 or 4%, that math ain't math, right? So as costs rise, withdrawals need to rise, which comes back to the whole circle of taxes, right? Like, I'm not a CPA. I don't want to be one, but investing and taxes go together like peanut butter and jelly. That's pay that lovely subscription, a holistic plan, so we can rip through your tax plan. Can you do a Roth conversion? Let's ballpark. What happens if we don't Roth convert? What is our RMD going to be? Hey, what if we have capital gains, right? Like everyone a couple years ago loved, oh, you tax loss harvest. That was great. Can we harvest more? Not many things are down right now. Like you can't. There's not much to harvest in the case of losses. And some of these accounts, we got to do a little rebalancing, right? Rebalancing equals realizing some of those gains, especially in those taxable accounts. That's a little bit of a thing. But remember, cost of living goes up, withdrawals go up. taxable income goes up. So inflation's stirring that pot, and then here comes IRMAA coming along. So not only did your regular expenses go up, now you're paying more for Medicare. So those years leading up to it, like leading up to RMD time, kind of that lull between like starting to retire, maybe wind down, and RMD, and you're fully retired. Could be 10 years, could be 4 years, but there's a wiggle room there that we're playing around with to make this money work. Because at the end of the day, you can't not think about this. Like, just because you solve that you have enough money for income today doesn't mean you're going to have it in 10 years from now. One of the biggest self-directed mistakes I see is people go in, do a screen for the dividend or income yield off of an investment. Hey, that's exactly what I need to live. Great. You solve for today. What does that look like in 10 years? Did you ever think what investment is paying a yield of 9.5% when interest rates are this low? Do you think that one's really growing to keep up with inflation, or is it eating itself to pay you a dividend? More often than not, it's eating itself. There are great companies that do pay dividends, not knocking them all, but know what you own. You can't just search a single factor. I use Helios. We've got 450 plus data points and factors on everything. It's not just one. You can't look at just one item. The world is dynamic. Now, remember, that inflation, silent tax, nobody votes on, but we all get hit with. And remember, the cost of living does not retire when you do. Like, your cost of living does not stop with retirement. And more often than not, retirement, those first couple of years, is kind of more of a barbell. You spend more the first couple of years. You go that bucket list trip, you do that thing, you buy that wine that you wanted, you kind of travel a little more. Then you get to an age where you're like, hey, I don't want to get in that plane, and traffic's crazy, and I'm not so sure I want to not sleep in my own bed, and I like my dog. So you lull down. And then the back end of that barbell is healthcare. More often than not, we're living longer, but part of living longer is also those healthcare expenses. Those things aren't cheap. They're also going up with inflation. So you kind of have that lumpy spending in the beginning, a little bit of a lull, and then healthcare comes back on that back end and really drops the hammer on that stuff. But this all goes back to why 1 year tax plan can be dangerous. If we avoid IRA withdrawals, just keep this year's tax bill down, we may force larger later when we really don't want everything and things are already costing more. So not only is it costing more, but you're getting forced to take out. So you're pushing yourself into one of the higher tax brackets. Now, this one's kind of been the fun one. And I feel like Groundhog Day. I have my intern this year, Ryan. He's been great. He's got to sit on some of these meetings, and he's heard it a couple times now of we're making more money than when we worked. So a lot of my retirees is you have Social Security, you have pension. Pension's not as big as it used to be, but there's still pension, Social Security, dividend income. It all starts stacking up, and suddenly they're retired, but they are showing more money and more taxable income than they ever have. Think about when you work, you contribute to a 401k that reduces your taxable income. You have an HSA you're contributing to. There's all these little things that you contribute to that end up reducing your taxable income. You're retired. Every dollar out of an IRA is taxable. Now, pulling some stuff out of brokerage accounts, we can be a little more tax efficient. But at the end of the day, the capital gains, interest, dividends, IRA withdrawals, pensions. If you sell a business, inherited IRA, that's another one that's come up, reared its head. A couple of people are getting IRA inheritance. Think about that. The new 10-year rule. So you have 10 years to pull it out. If you're in some of your, let's say you're 40 something making $400,000 and you inherit $300,000 from your parents passing and it's all in an IRA, you have 10 years to pull that out. So you could take 30 a year for 10 years, but that's all added to your taxable income. Suddenly you're looking at an added tax bill on your inheritance. It can get a little messy. That's part of why when I tell people to take money out of the IRA, it's not just to go spend it. Like, this isn't let's go to the casino and spend it. This is pull money out of the IRA at a favorable tax rate that we know and move it into a brokerage account. Think joint account if it's a married couple, right? Like IRA, I stands for individual, right? How many people play solitaire? One. How many own an IRA? One. Joint account, that's brokerage. It's after tax. You put that money from the IRA to the brokerage account or your investment account, similar investments. We're still making the money grow, but now we've locked in what that tax rate is. because historically speaking, right now we're still in some pretty low tax rates collected between state and federal. We don't know what they're going to be in 10 years from now. But if I can lock you in 12 or let's say your average rate, because everyone gets hung up on their effective rate, which is like the next dollar is taxed at this rate. Oh, we're at 24, we're at 32, we're at this. But because we have a graduated tax table, the first 50 is at this. And that if we have a blended tax rate for you at 15%, that's a win. We're going to take that money out of the IRA. We're going to put it in a brokerage account or a joint investment account, however else you want to say it. And now we've locked in a lower RMD for you because we've pulled money out of the IRA. We locked in a tax rate we know is favorable to us. And that gives us flexibility when we need to pull money later on. That's the game plan here. That's what the secret sauce is, right? Like that's not where most people realize it. But now we're getting to that point of, oh my God, I never thought I would have this high of a tax rate. So decades of saving into pre-tax accounts builds this massive IRA or 401k. It was great while you're working. You want to save taxes. You're being beat over the head. Let's got to save. Hey, this lowers taxes. It is a win. But we got to find a couple more income sources come retirement. You don't want to be just locked in to just that type of account. Like it gives you some we got to have some taxable money, maybe some Roth money if we can do a conversion here or there. Flexibility allows us to minimize taxes, right? We're still paying them. We're not going to Cayman Islands and hiding, like still paying taxes, but our goal over every 10-year cycle is to keep your tax rate at the lowest percentage as possible. Keep you happy. Like I don't want you to be so stingy, oh, we can't do this or anything like that. But think about it. You're suddenly making more money than you ever have because you were successful. You saved. You did all the right things. Don't get hit with a broadside shot from Club Fed and the IRS because you've done so well. So think about it. You spent 40 years saving to avoid taxes and never had a plan for the bill that was coming due. And now it's coming due. You're 70, 72. It's coming. But that's why we try to use those gap years. That between retirement or like slowing down work, a lot of people going from working 40, 50 hours to maybe consulting 15 to 20. There's a little bit of lull before those RMDs. And those gap years, it's kind of when work income stops before the RMDs kick in. Maybe you got some Social Security plan in, but we get some wiggle room, right? You might need a little spending money now. And we can take some extra, put in that brokerage account. So it's out of the IRA at a favorable rate. But that little gap year, that lull before the RMDs might be some of your lowest income years you'll ever have because you're not working, you're getting maybe some Social Security, but it's not the full gauntlet of everything turned on at once. One of the strategies, just think about, take out money before your RMD with purpose. That doesn't mean just take it out to spend it. If you need to spend it, that's a different conversation, but strategically, what is my tax rate? How much money can I take out? I want to say last year there was almost $350,000 taken out from IRA to brokerage account for clients. Not just one. Nobody took 350, but you get several taking 30, 40 at a time because, hey, I'll pay 4,000 of income tax on that. We're at 10%. We're at 12%. I'm okay with that. That makes sense. But that comes into planning. You can't do that in March. That's something that this fall, October, I'm going to be over here, Mr. Holland's Opus, for another year, just clubbing clients over the head like a seal. Let's plan this out. Let's plan this out. Twice this year, I had people come out to me in March. Hey, I guess what you were talking about was real. My CPA said we should have done it. It's like telling your kids it's hot and they still touch it. And they're like, oh, I guess you were right. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to minimize your taxes. I want you to have the most money, highest probability of success for your goals. I don't have a perfect crystal ball. I would have hit Powerball twice in one of my 10-leg parlays on DraftKings. I don't have a perfect crystal ball. I can't predict the future. This is all about setting you up in the highest probability for success. Doesn't guarantee it. Death, taxes, there's your guarantees. But lock in tax rates you know. I struggle to believe 15 years from now, we're going to have lower tax rates right now. People want to talk about national debt and paying for things and all the other stuff. You only pay for things with money or printing money. And eventually the bell's going to come and be like, hey, we need to pay this back. So if we can file anywhere between 12 and 22% tax bracket, which will usually give you an effective, so average. So think every dollar you earned, your average tax rate is 15%, that's a win. Do you want to wait and see if that's 30? And I could be wrong, but I struggle to believe right now, with everything going on, that our tax rate's going to completely crater down. That, oh, we're only going to be at a 7% rate or 8. We can get you out at 15. Let's do it. Like, that goes back to the planning. Now, if we can do a Roth conversions, look, the people with the mini microphones TikToking with their little single ring light and no licenses, yes, they will tell you to Roth convert, Roth convert, Roth convert. Love it. But does it work with your tax bill? Is it going to blow up your IRMAA? How much money? Like, if you get some people that have $1 million, $2, $3 million in IRA, if you Roth convert that whole thing, that's a 50% tax bill. Should you light on fire 50% of your savings on a Roth conversion in 1 year? No. Think about that. That a lot of times it's chunks and it seems meaningless. When we do this over a couple of years, suddenly you get a Roth that's went from 20,000 to 400. Why? We played the tax code game. We took little chunks, and suddenly, like anything else, it snowballs and the market plays nice for us, right? Market's up, then Roth converting. A lot of these videos and nonsense are just hyping up something in a silo. They don't look at, hey, what your healthcare costs are or what you need to keep your income under to keep your drug price at a certain level. So yes, love a Roth conversion if it works. What is your tax rate? Do you want to light money on fire just to say you did it? Like, do you just want to have one to say it's okay? Well, if you're looking at Roth converting, what's your current tax bracket versus future? How close are you to getting the IRMAA, right? Once you get the Medicare, it's a 2-year look back. Where does Social Security play in, right? Don't forget, if that comes in, that's some income you'd account. And here's the other one that's always a big one, that where's the tax bill coming from? You Roth convert, 50,000, 20% tax rate, that's a $10,000 tax bill. Are you taking it straight from the Roth? Do you have some tax credits? Where is that coming from? So, because you do have to Roth convert, you to pay the taxes on. So where is that coming from? So remember, Roth conversion, powerful, but they're not magic, right? Convert too aggressively and you might end up in a higher tax bracket, or converting the amount of money you're paying in taxes might eat away at the long-term benefit. You break even the longer you go and everything else like that. But you got to be careful. Like everything else, moderation. Know what you're doing. Be purposeful about it. Don't just follow it because it sounds cool or it's the buzzword. Those people with the ring lights and doing a TikTok dance, not exactly financial planners. Just know your situation. Like, there's commercials for drugs. Oh man, that sounds like it's great. You wake up every morning, do you feel tired? Do your knees pop? Here, take this drug. And it's like, all right, I'm tired and getting old. It sounds like me. But would that work with your other drugs, your diet, your exercise, your blood pressure, whatever it might be? You got to know the whole picture. Can't just jump on it because you should. Leading into one of the things talking about tax deferral and get into retirement. A lot of people come into people that are, hey, I have a question. Can you give me a second look? They hit retirement. They turn everything on at once. And it's just like, you didn't have to turn every light on like you're in Yankee Stadium. All right. Meet with people. They already retired, want a second look, maybe pay for a financial plan, that sort of type of engagement. They doing their own investments. And it turns out they turned on all their income at once. They're retired. Oh, I need my Social Security. I need my IRA. I need this. Think of it as buckets, faucets, however you look at it. Do you need all of them on at once? So think of there's kind of 3 big buckets, and we'll keep it broad. So your taxable buckets, you typically your bank accounts, brokerage, CDs, tax based on interest, dividends, capital gains, usually pretty flexible. Tax deferred bucket, traditional IRA, 401k, 403b. Those are the ones subject to the RMDs, which are also generally taxed as ordinary income. So that's your tax deferred. So you usually get some type of tax break sending money in. They get you coming out. And then you get your tax-free bucket. So that's your Roth IRA, Roth 401k, and HSA if you use it properly. That can provide a lot of flexibility. And remember, Roth IRAs are not subject to RMDs for the original owner. Old school advice often says to spend the taxable first, then the IRA, then the Roth last. That may work sometimes, but it can waste low tax years. At the end of the day, which account should I fund this year? Which account helps me manage my tax bracket? And which helps me avoid IRMAA? Those are the kind of the 3 starting point questions you got to ask to make sure the plan's working. Remember, retirement income should not be on autopilot. Autopilot is great for airplanes. It is not great for taxes. All right, a couple mistakes to avoid. Remember, don't wait until RMDs to begin the plan, right? Don't wait till 72, knowing that it's coming next year. Don't avoid IRA withdrawals at all costs. Sometimes lock in the tax rate, right? Don't do that giant Roth conversion. Don't ignore inflation. Don't ignore Medicare premiums and that dirty IRMAA. And treat tax filing it as tax planning. You should take a peek at it twice a year when you file, and then again, Halloween, Thanksgiving, right? Where do we stand? Do you have wiggle room? What's changed? And the other thing is, don't pull from the same account every year. There are certain years, the tax code changes every 2 to 3 years. There's always a little nuance. There were rules that worked great 20 years ago that have been voided out for 10. Like, you have to stay back on top of it. I'm going to bring it home, a couple things just to take it in. I appreciate you've listened this long. Look, the IRS is going to get paid at some point. The question is whether you control the timing or you let the IRS control the timing for you. So remember, don't manage your taxes 1 year at a time. Manage them 1 decade. Take that bigger picture look. Look at the next 10 years, not just April 15th. Use those lower income gap years that you have. Or heck, maybe you're in a transition year or two for work when you're 61, 62, and you're not sure if you're done. That could be another year. There's all about it. This is not about not paying taxes. It's about not paying more taxes than we need to. Pay some tax now on purpose if it helps avoid a big tax bomb later on. All right. I know this is a lot longer than even I expected to go, but a lot of good bits, a lot of good talking points, a lot of information to cover, and we really only scratched the surface. If you get near retirement or you're in that gap between being retired and RMD time, and you want to figure out how this all works, you know how to get a hold of me. Click on sometime in the calendar. We can do a plan only, or we can do the whole shebang. Whatever works for you, or at the very least, if you want to have a quick conversation, happy to answer 1 or 2 questions. But at the end of the day, this isn't just a one-time thing. This is an ongoing developing, because tax rules change and everything else, to make sure you minimize your 10-year tax bill. If you take nothing else out of this, don't just worry about this year. Look at it as a 10-year tax number. I'm Nick St. George, CFP with St. George Wealth Management. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Unf Your Finances podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.stgeorgewealth.com or give us a call at 828-481-8836. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of St. George Wealth Management. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA and SIPC. Any guests and their company or companies are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial unless otherwise stated. Individual tax and legal matters should be discussed with your tax or legal professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee for future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of principal.